Good afternoon. Well, we've had Ophelia, and you don't dare ask me to sing the song, but we've had it rolling up the coast, and it canceled out the local Oktoberfest, which for the life of me, I can't understand why the Oktoberfest is in September. And when I came down from New York, I couldn't understand why St. Patrick's Day was almost never on St. Patrick's Day. In New York, that would be a high crime and misdemeanor, I think. So I didn't get a chance to talk yesterday or today, but I listened to the Talking Heads today, and it felt like the hosts of the leading talk shows felt they had to do it on the other hand. That is to say, they've been attacking Trump legitimately, or let me put it differently, not attacking, reporting what Trump and his minions, corrupt minions, are doing. And then Saturday and Sunday, it's been like they talk about what the Democrats are doing wrong. So we hear more about Biden's son. We hear about the age of our president, and nothing about his vigor as compared to the sorry state of the person that is the likely other contender if somebody doesn't disbar him from running for office under Article 14, Section 3. And so I felt that it's like we want to keep this as a horse race, no matter how corrupt and craven is Trump. So it's very interesting. And I think it's a debilitating manner of journalism to do that. But we seem to do it. And I don't think that one commits a crime and then another person has to be slapped around, even though they didn't commit a crime. We're talking about the President of the United States, a guy named Joe Biden, as compared to Trump, or a true criminal in every way. And, you know, we have a lot of people talking against Menendez, the senator from New Jersey. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why he's being prosecuted in New York, except to deny him a jury in New Jersey. And I understand there was a question about the U.S. attorney in New Jersey, but come on, we have lawyers, so many lawyers. You're telling me we couldn't have tried a fair case in New Jersey? I would expect there'd be emotion about it. But my main point is how Democrats included are prepared to pile on against Menendez and keep their powder dry as to Trump. What is that about? A fear that these no-neck, deplorable voters out there, 30% of the Republican base, are going to be the difference between an incumbent losing in the upcoming elections? I just don't get it. So let's go over where we are with the government. And this is, it seems to me, should be the way we put it. Can't keep the government open. Well, supposedly we had a deal. That is to say, Republicans and Democrats agreed to a deal so we wouldn't be in this position, but we are. And why is that? That's because there are some true outliers who dominate the Republican conference in the House, and McCarthy can't rein them in to do what he said he would do on behalf of the conference. He also said he was going to, well, we'll get into some of these other things. Now, how is that being covered? The question is, will the Democrats help the Republicans? Stop the music. That's not what this is. Will there be enough Democrats and Republicans to keep the government open without regard to party? That's the question. And will we criticize those Republican or Democrats who won't keep the government open? In other words, fail their oath of office. So how we frame these issues is critically important. And if we're always going to frame them as party fights, including those times when there are Republicans who'd feel comfortable of doing their job, but are afraid of being covered as if they are Republicans in name only, rhinos, because what? They and people who are Democrats agreed what should be done as per a deal that was made to keep the government open. Now, it's been a while, and Biden apparently doesn't like to talk this way, but he has finally, and he called out the fact that our democracy is at risk. That has got to be one of the primary talking points this fall, no matter who you are if you're in politics, no matter who you are if you're an opinion leader, because that is the risk, and that is what makes this election different. And I'm not saying there was no other election in our history that had such serious and important elements, but there is no question that we have it in this one because of the peculiar situation in which a person who was held sufficiently unlawful and unconstitutional to be impeached twice, and that 4 entities, 2 state, 2 federal, have indicted him for crimes. That makes a difference, particularly when there's particularly when there's a constitutional provision that a person who tries to overthrow the government can himself or herself be barred from holding office. Where are we? Now, I also think it's important that Biden is joining workers on the picket line. Now, there's always a tug and pull for politicians between maybe what their heart and soul tells them is right and what they should do, and what they're told politically they have to do. But if Biden threads the needle and stands with the workers and stands with them on the picket line and says they're getting a raw deal, that's important. He has said he's for labor, but this is more than about labor, like a lot of these issues these days. This is about those who are not the capitalists, those who compose a factor in our economy, labor as compared to land and capital, that matter. And that if there's a fair deal and that triangle, that economic triangle, land, capital, labor, it is that when the productivity of the workers gives an advantage to those who supply the capital, that expansion because of that productivity, meaning increased funds and profits and everything else, should be shared with the workers who made it possible. And you can go up and down about the 10 or so different issues that labor has, but they're not laughable, they're serious, particularly when you compare the advantages that the employers got during this period of success in the automobile industry to the disadvantage of the workers sharing in that beneficial sale of these vehicles. So, what do we have? Now, we also can't ignore that Biden has shrunken inflation, has shrunken unemployment, has encouraged an economy to grow, and yet we still have questions about a man who has delivered. He's not an entertainer. We elected him to be a chief executive. We elected him to use his experience and to use his reputation for being a moderate, though I'm a liberal, for being a moderate, to bring the nation together. That's the compromise some of us made, provided that Biden do his damnedest to preserve and protect our republic from those like Trump and his gang of corrupt politicians and others. We expect him to keep them at bay. Now, as I talk to you, without regard for the Attorney General and his failures to act soon enough, we do have a Justice Department that has 40 talented prosecutors working on this matter. And they are intelligently spread through 2 cases in D.C. and in Florida. That's a plus. And we see people talking about they just believe, And faith is a belief. And these people have a faith in Trump. But faith is a belief without any supporting evidence. That's what faith is. A leap of faith. Based on what? And in Trump's case, there should be no leap, because the data points are that when you sign up with this guy, you suffer. You suffer if you're a person who gets COVID. You suffer if you're a person of color. You suffer if you're a woman. You suffer depending on where you are in America. You suffer because we don't dedicate ourselves to the environment. You suffer because we risk war because of the intended bellicosity of Trump in every direction, in every instance, however minor or however significant, up to and including, I assume, pushing a button someday. We feared a long time ago that Barry Goldwater was that kind of a leader. Do we have any reason to believe that Trump is not that kind of leader? So, my reaction on the talking heads is that journalism is not just about capitalism. Journalism is about giving us the hard truth and not making balances, trading off between positions to cover stories that are called breaking news for several days. We have to be on our game, all of us, citizens, elected officials, journalists, witnesses, judges, because this is the real thing. And people would be scratching their head afterwards saying things like, oh, I didn't know he would do that if he wins. But mark my words, if he wins, our lives will be at risk. Our freedom will evaporate. And he may never, nor may any other person, have to run for president again during his lifetime, because he will seize power and hold it. We saw the inkling of this when his friend Rudy was mayor of New York and wanted to continue after his term ended, citing what a difference he could make after what happened on 9/11. And we saw Trump follow the same game plan. We saw Rudy Giuliani, when he ran the second time to be mayor of New York, basically put together a hate rally that was racist. And what do we see in Charlottesville? And what kind of a rally did we see on January the 6th, when Trump and his tribe of soldiers on the street summoned to wreck our government? And luckily, because we have people who are patriots and who take risks, luckily they failed. But they may not fail the next time, and they're doing everything they can to change unlawfully the rules of elections. So we have our work cut out for us. We are still ahead on points, but we have to keep on the game, because nothing less than our democracy, our republic, and our freedom are at risk. So this Sunday, here I am, and I stand in my cathedral of trees, and it gives me great hope and pleasure. Take care. Bye-bye.